Alright, we're going to cover a couple things here. I'm on the highway now. I have the adaptive cruise on and the lane tracking assist on. It seems like it has a capacitive touch sensitivity, so you don't have to jerk the steering wheel once it complains at you. So far, it's doing a really good job. It is a little jerky, like right there. It's jerking a little bit. So I guess I have to touch it at a certain particular spot. Not on the top. I think maybe wherever that line is. So it's staying in the center of the lane, but it is a little abrupt. Yeah, so I just went like that. So I'm going to see how it does coming up on this truck here. I'm going to keep my hands ready. So it is slowing down. Yeah, so it's working pretty well. So I signaled it didn't change lanes for me, but now that I'm in this lane, let's see how it does. Again, I've got my hand close to the steering wheel. Yeah, so it doesn't auto change lanes, but otherwise it does pretty well. All right, so we'll keep checking this out here. I'll kind of let it stay behind this truck here. Somebody's getting ready to pass me on the left. These kinds of systems have yeah, I think maybe I did have to jerk it a little bit. These kinds of systems I have seen have very vastly different levels of competency among different cars. Right there, it just got a little confused. Actually, so it doesn't, I think it disabled my lane tracking assist there. I had to wait until everything was green. So for that brief bit, it couldn't find the lane. Now it has, everything's green, it's doing its job. The other thing I wanted to cover is RPMs on the highway. So we're just turning up just above 3,000 RPMs. And, well, we were going 176 miles an hour coming up on a truck here. So now I'm going to get over and we're going to see how quickly it accelerates back. So I'm holding on. Okay, now I've let go of the steering wheel again. So it seems like it's reasonably quick to respond when you change lanes after passing somebody who's going slower. I mean, overall, I'd say it's pretty good. Wait for it to turn green, and there we go. Hands off. I don't think I can back up far enough to show that. It's probably more interesting just to watch what it does on the road. Now, the Elantra N, it did have a steering assist, but it did not have radar cruise control. Okay, that time I just squeezed it. I didn't jerk it. So it does seem like there's a capacitive sensor in there. Let me go ahead and get over here. So we've got a construction zone coming up. So it will be interesting to see how it does with that. It's a 45 mile per hour zone. It's actually pretty quiet on the highway. It is a little... It does drive a little bumpy, but overall pretty comfortable, I'd have to say. Now this could get a little dicey because I've got another car here. Let's see what everybody's going to do. I don't know if they're going to try to speed up and get around or slow down. Okay, so let's still hands off. It's slowing down with the flow of traffic. I, again, will keep my hands close to the steering wheel and my foot ready. All right, now we've got the barrels closing in and the speed slowing down. I think the following distance is pretty good. I have it set on the closest And it's a reasonable distance. I've had other cars that have been very far in terms of even on the closest setting, how they follow. This time I'm going to actually keep my hands off the wheel until it yells at me. I want to see how long it takes before it starts yelling after it lights up with the error message. So we're doing pretty good on slowing down. So that the warning just popped up. Okay, yeah, so it beeps at me. Yeah, I'm torn between whether it requires you to jerk the steering wheel or if it just senses your hand on it. Sometimes it just senses your hand on it. Sometimes I do have to give it a little bit of a jerk. So it seems kind of hit or miss for how it does that. See, that time I was just able to just touch it. The last time before that, I had to jerk the steering wheel a little bit. So it may just be touch sensitive, but it may just take a little while for it to respond. Well, that time I put my hand on it for a while and it did not register. So yeah, who knows? But yeah, overall there's like no drone on the highway, and you can hear the engine, but it's kind of subdued. I think this actually would be a decent highway cruiser. Now I could see maybe after a 4-hour trip probably getting a little bit of fatigue. I mean, because it is still very responsive to all the bumps in the road, but it's not what I would call harsh. I would call it firm, but I would not call it harsh. So let's see, we're coming into a slower speed limit here, so I'm gonna bump this down. Call it 72. Passing the truck. Yeah, so in short order, I feel pretty comfortable with the lane tracking assist on this car. By far the worst two were in Mercedes and Range Rover. The best one was in my 2019 Civic LX. It was just awesome. So far, fuel economy, so far 17.4 miles per gallon overall. Honestly, I don't really expect this to do much over 20, at least not initially, because I'm going to probably do a lot of spirited driving. Pardon me. Had to take a sip of water there. It's getting a little thirsty. Yeah, overall this car is just, it's very pleasant. Very pleasant to drive. Okay, that's my feedback so far from the highway drive. I guess another important thing is how well it holds the speed. Like, I'm going downhill now. I think normally a car could speed up because this is a pretty steep hill on the highway, and we're not at extremely low RPMs, but probably enough that it could hold the car back a little bit. So one thing I did notice is that it has a feature called navigation-based cruise control. In other words, when you're going around a turn, it'll pre-slow you down to compensate for that. I think that's actually kind of silly in a car like this, which is designed to handle the turns very quickly. But it does that. I think you can disable it. So I may actually disable that. Now my BMW does a version of that. It's not like navigation based to my knowledge, but when you go around a turn pretty quickly and you have the cruise on, it will slow you down. And I've had other cars, I think that's called dynamic cruise control, or it'll do something like that. Now we're coming up on some traffic here. It's slowing down, not putting me too close. Now that truck was going off the road a little bit, but this car is smart enough to figure out to stay properly in the lane. The jerkiness seems to have stopped also. I've noticed that it seems like it's getting smarter as I drive more. So that may be a thing. I don't know why it was a little jerky to begin with. The cruise control itself was a little tricky to turn on. It kept telling me cruise control unavailable when I first tried to turn it on. It said cruise control unavailable, see owner's manual. Not sure what's up with that, but I eventually just kept mashing buttons until it came on. So we're going to go ahead and reduce the speed here. And notice it turned white when I was below that speed. So the truck in front of me is going a little quicker, so it is backing off there. I do see the, I don't know if the total average just now changed to blue, meaning it's increasing. I do not know right now how to reset that. That's it, just pull right out in front of somebody. Not surprised by the driver. I'm not gonna add further commentary, but those of you who know what I'm talking about. So let's see. I don't know. There's not like a button up here somewhere to reset that. Let's try something silly. Reset fuel economy average.
Your latest fuel consumption is 18.2 miles per gallon.
So now that's cool that it understood what I was saying there to a point. I wouldn't expect it to have a feature like that. So that's pretty neat, that it understood that and reported my fuel economy. I was going to try to reset it to kind of get a feel for what it's doing on the highway. If I hold that in, yeah, I definitely have some research to do on how to work this car, and I've got to set that thing up as well. So anyway, that's the latest feedback as I'm learning more about this car as I drive it more. Still, I'm only at 70 miles, but it actually feels like I've owned this for a longer period of time. I mean, I've developed a sense of connection with this car pretty quickly, and it just gives me a good feeling to drive it. I can't explain it. I never quite had something like that with the Elantra N, but with this car I do. Oh yeah, and another cool feature this car has that kind of surprised me is all 4 windows are one touch up and down, even though this is just the core model. So I